So super forecaster is I have to admit, it sounds a little bit grandiose, but it's a very simple term. It comes out of a research program. In fact, the world's largest research program on forecasting. It was sponsored by the U.S. intelligence community, and the lead researcher was my co-author on super forecasting, Phil Tetlock. And super forecasters, very simple concept. In this enormous real world forecasting tournament, people were ranked according to their results, right? Because we're trying to determine, are you actually able to make accurate forecasts in the real world? People were ranked, and there was a very small percentage, 1% to 2% at the very top, who were consistently outstanding. And because they were top of the table, they were called super forecasters. It's just that simple. One of the things that we did in the book was we asked the questions that anybody would ask was, yeah, okay, they're outstanding geopolitical forecasters. Maybe that's just because they have off the charts IQs. No, they had above average IQs typically, but they weren't off the charts. The way we like to say is basically, if you have the interest and aptitude to read a serious book about psychology and forecasting, you probably have that IQ. We asked, were they supernumerate? Like, were they using some sort of magical math that, mere mortals can't understand? Answer, no. Overwhelmingly, no. They're very numerate people. They're very good with numbers, but the math that they're using is high school math. It's nothing special. And subject matter specialists. Maybe they all have PhDs in the subject matter. And it was no, again, not that, because, in fact, questions were asked across many different subject matters, so that eliminates that possibility. So then if you ask, well, what did do it? There are certain habits of mind that really made the difference. And now earlier we were talking about, can you learn, can you change your habits of mind? And this is a perfect example. One of the essential habits of mind that super forecasters all have is that they're probabilistic thinkers. They don't think in terms of certainties. They don't think in terms of it will happen, it won't happen. They don't think in terms of yes, no. That's natural human decision making, but that's not what they do. They think in terms of, well, get rid of certainty. And if you get rid of certainty, what does that mean? That means that 0% drops off and 100% drops off, and then everything becomes a question of a range from 1 to 99. That's probabilistic thinking. And these people become extremely good at thinking about fine-grained probabilistic distinctions. How do they do that? Practice. To them, it actually becomes habitual. I once had a conversation with a super forecaster, an engineer, outstandingly, brilliant guy, great forecasting results. And I was just asking him practical background questions, tell me about you, that sort of thing. I said, do you read books? Yes, I read books. Do you read fiction, nonfiction? He said a bit of both. And I said, in what proportion do you read fiction or nonfiction? And he said, that's about 70-30. And then he caught himself and said, no, it's closer to 65-35. Right? That's normal human beings do not think in those terms in casual conversations. But this guy had so internalized this way of thinking that it had become intuitive to him. And he had that amazing accuracy when it came to assigning probabilities. And that translated into real world forecasting, which of course has real world consequences.